Our party, as part of their quest to uncover the lost mystery pertaining to the mystical MacGuffin we need to acquire as per the totally generic plot, the villagers of Lattakesh advise that we should consult with the noble Kobold Hermit living in the Dahir mountain range. It is a well-established rule that kobolds can choose to be an important part of the campaign's plot. It is the golden rule that kobolds can decide to be either inconsequential or vitally important to the fate of the world at large. And thus, we made our way to the Kobold Hermit's residence after some mildly annoying weather that didn't really impede us, only to find the place thoroughly ransacked. Unsure how else to proceed with our noblest of quests, the party returned to Lattakesh. Only, no one in the village remembers anything to do with the Kobold Hermit we were meant to find. This is how our search began. A search for the kobold that doesn't exist. To begin our search, we journeyed back to the hut. Surely there had to be some clue, something we missed upon our initial visit that could clue us in on where to go. We searched the hut as thoroughly as our party could, a task not made easy by the need to roll investigation against a high enough DC that would most likely cause problems. Now, Nadiya was asking us to be very specific about where we were searching in this hut. To be fair, the hut did have a lot screaming at us. The various rooms, some of the upturned furniture, the benches. We had no shortage of items we could search through. So naturally, we find a mysterious letter almost right away when we pick up one of the tables and set it back upright. In reading the letter, we found a number of letters that had been written as though capitalized amidst the sentences. Writing out in a separate notebook, or more accurately, those notebooks we as players at the table have for these sort of scenarios, each of the letters that were oddly capitalized, we got the following cipher, spelling out MAPLRTB. Since the letter is written in common, at first the party assumed that this amalgamation is some sort of scrambled word, before realizing that no word in common lined up with this anagram. But the first three letters, map. If we split that off, we have LRTB as a separate section. What could LRTB mean? Assuming that the first word is correct, LRTB could be a means by which to represent something on a map, as in left to right, top to bottom. Ah, so we need coordinates, some way of getting a point on a map to go to. We needed numbers. The only numbers on the letter appear before and after the LR and TB do, which results in this being our total message. That is, assuming we're on the correct path. Map LR 5/15, TB 7/10. By dividing a map of the region up into 15 columns and 10 rows, we see that the location of interest we should investigate is right here, on the west side of this forest to the south-southeast of Lattakesh. However, we have a tiny problem. Our assumption is that the map used for this location is a standard map of the region, but also we don't know if we're meant to divide the map from the very corner of the publication, or from the corner from which the map itself is drawn, which in turn gives us two distinctly different positions that are reasonably close by, within an acceptable margin for error. We're also assuming that we're meant to line up exactly as it is on said map. This is on top of our tenuous connections upon tenuous connections, because what is good puzzle design? An illusion? But with limited ability to alter the script to our liking, we headed to the first set of coordinates, as divined from the corner of the published map. And at that first set of coordinates, we found nothing there. No joke, we went immediately to the second set of coordinates, the one derived from the corner of the drawn map. That was where we found a carefully hidden stash, after one of our party members stubbed their toe on a loose rock that, upon closer inspection, was a rock-shaped piece of adamantine covered in moss. We don't want to think about how much damage was dealt. More importantly, however, it confirmed how we were to interpret both the map and any other sets of coordinates that we may or may not discover going forward. While going through the stash, we found quite a few items that were complete junk. Rocks, sticks, leaves, and bits of berries that had completely decayed into this icky mush. We found a slab at the very bottom of the stash, in which 2 runes had been etched. These runes corresponded to numbers, which we translated from Draconic into the numbers 12 and 3. The new set of coordinates pointed us here, amidst the swamp south of the ruins of Saltvein. In the past, Saltvein was something of a trading outpost with the wider world, or so we had reason to believe based on our history checks. But also, we had heard rumours about this swamp, that there had been a recent arrival of one of Tiamat's own, a black dragon, sadistic, cruel, and territorial. We had only hoped that those rumours were strictly rumours, because to presumably uncover our next clue, we would have to journey into that swamp. And well, what's the worst that could happen? Us not finding the kobold that doesn't exist? Us running into more elaborate forms of nonsense? Would we ever shake off the feeling that we were being watched somehow? And so, we headed into the swamp. The foul odour of decay immediately hits us as we enter, the stench being this overwhelming mix of rotting plants and obnoxious gas that has some of us second guessing if we're in the right place. The thick vegetation and mud slowing our movement as we trek deeper. The fog that soon rolls in does little to impede the party as we journey onward. Eventually, the inevitable happens. One of our party members was feeling a bit parched, and thus drank some water from their canteen, and was asked by the DM to make a constitution save, which he failed with a natural 1. Look, there are times when we embellish things and stories as narrators. Sometimes we will do that because the script says so. Other times, we don't need any embellishment because the narrative picked up a frying pan. At this moment, the moment when the party member that quaffed water had a brief fade to green, that we knew. We were in the thick of the territory of the Black Dragon we had heard rumours about. And it wasn't exactly happy that we were here either. For those who may not know, one of the aspects of a Black Dragon's lair is that in a 1 mile radius around it, all water sources are supernaturally fouled. And our presumably evil DM homebrewed that rule to extend to our canteens. We would not be able to drink what was supposed to be safe water whilst we were here. Thankfully, we were able to reach the coordinates that we had uncovered from the slab we found earlier. With little hesitation, we started digging, suspecting that we would have to find another stash. And look at that. Surprise, surprise, we didn't find a stash of weird, obtuse items that suggest a significant passage of time has passed. Instead, we find something a lot more recent, a small leather pouch. And for once, what the pouch contains isn't some arbitrarily cryptic letter requiring some highly specific reinterpretation, because after all of this arbitrary nonsense, we just get told to go to some house in the northern part of Mossdale. We solved possibly bad puzzle design, figured out the silliest of plots, followed a fairly silly script, and trekked across a swamp inhabited by a black dragon for a letter. Feeling as though we were still being watched, our party quickly exited the swamp, thankfully without incident. It was a slow, relatively uneventful walk over to Mossdale, and when we found the house we were told was important, one final perception check. And we notice an owl sitting behind us, dismissing a wild shape to reveal the Kobold Hermit we had been searching for. The whole time, we had been searching for this one kobold, and they were there the whole time, following us, watching us, from the treetops, in plain sight, where we would least expect such a hermit to be. And all because this kobold wanted to test the party and to pull off a very silly prank. The takeaway is that sometimes the solution is right there, but also maybe the DM shouldn't take inspiration from the power of ARGs, because this got very silly very quickly. No, I am not doing a free Kobolds in a trenchcoat reference and a blatant April Fool's themed parody of a game that could actually exist. I've melted your brains enough as it is with enough nonsense puzzles to make the likes of Sierra weep.